there are so many options available. Like, for example, one of my possibility portals for myself and my own practice is Pamela Chen. She is a tarot deck writer, author, and she's extravagant. She is the person that is fully authentically herself, being an Asian American, dressing up in unicorn princess outfits and doing photo shoots. And she's like, because of that flamboyancy, it's like, she doesn't care about what anyone else thinks. She's going to be fully 100% her. And that's why she's my possibility portal. She's not letting anyone tell her or dictate her otherwise. And she's living in the spiritual niche. She's doing phenomenally well. She's like a 6-figure a month type person. And she's like got contracts with like Hay House. And, you know, like, I love it. And it's because she doesn't fit into the box. Honestly, like, that's a huge thing for me. Like, I don't want to be fit into a box of what I'm supposed to look like or should look like. And so I get to look to someone who, like, look, she's authentically holding her space and saying who she is without any regrets. And so she throws those cautions to the wind, and she's doing marvelously well, even when, you know, like, her courses and things are so niche down to like star seeds. And I'm like, yes, you go, girl. Like, I love that. Right. And so this is also an opportunity to remember we might be a possibility portal for someone else. If we're having successes in our career and our practices, share it so people know, like, if they can do it, I can do it too. And I think so often we feel like that's bragging, and there's a different energy between bragging and being confident and sharing your wins. And when we share our wins, we often open up possibilities for, one, to gain new clients. People are like, wow, that sounds amazing. I want that too. And that we have a possibility to become someone else's, they're doing it, I can do it as well.
Yeah, something that I talk about all the time that I think is so important. There's this phrase that always comes to mind in these conversations, and it's that phrase of, we're all just walking each other home. And I think that is so beautiful, because one of the things that I see time and time and time again is that we're all just waiting for someone else to give us permission to be ourselves, to do what we want to do, to be allowed to rest, to be allowed to have these goals, to be allowed to show up, to try something new, to whatever it is. We're all just waiting for someone else to tell us it's okay. And the fact that we're waiting is okay. Like, if you can get to a point where you can give yourself that permission, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But we're human, right? We're human, and we live with those fears and those doubts and all of those things. So when we have the opportunity to give someone else that permission, it's a beautiful thing, because what's happening when you're showing up, when you're saying, you know, like with Christina and I in Reiki Cafe, we're very open about, here are the things that we achieved this year. And we're so grateful for our community for doing so, not because we want to brag or we want to put Reiki Cafe on a pedestal, but because it's this ability to say, if we can do it, you can do it too. And there's this sense of holding each other not accountable, but even, like, we're equals here, knowing that we're all sharing the same energy, sharing the same inspiration, sharing the same love, and that's going to come through each and every one of us in a different way. But if we allow ourselves to stand in the truth of who we are and to show up authentically, what we're doing and what you're doing when you do that is you're giving someone else permission to do the same. And it's so interesting, because I'm sure if you think right now, if you just tune into yourself and you think about, when is a time that I held myself back because I felt like I wasn't supposed to do something, or I felt like it was outside of the norm, or I felt like it wouldn't succeed, or I felt like it was weird, or all of these things. And then you go to somebody and you talk to them and they're like, no, that's a fantastic idea. Or a few days later, you get an email in your inbox confirming that this is something you should do. And so you do it anyway. And it turns into this beautiful thing, because you had the courage to give yourself that permission. But wouldn't it have been so much easier if from the beginning you had someone that you could look at and say, they did it, so I can do it too? It's not about needing a possibility portal. It's not about this feeling this lack of, if there's not a possibility portal, it means I can't do it. That's not the intention here. It's this freedom to be able to look at someone else and allow them to guide you forward in that light, in that energy, in that freedom of being able to see, look, they can do it, I can do it too. And so there's not a need here. There's not a tug of, if you haven't seen it happen, then it's not possible. No, you can be the trailblazer. You can make something completely new, but it's about finding the ways that you can give yourself that permission to do what it is you're feeling called to do, to show up in the way that you're feeling called to show up. And for many, many people, the way that they do that is by finding someone who has done that or something similar. And I say something similar because, like with Christine and Pamela Chen, obviously Christine does not want to dress up in unicorn fairy princess outfits. Like, that's not Christine's energy. But what she's attracted to in Pamela Chen is the fact that she is always 100% herself, and she's stepping outside of the box, and she's not afraid to do that and show up fully. And that's what Christine sees in her as her possibility portal, not the outfits and the crowns and her pet bunny that she has, which is adorable, but that's not Christine's energy. She's not looking at the actual reality of how that inspiration comes through Pamela Chen. She's looking at the inspiration itself, that energy behind how she shows up, as a way of showing Christine that she can show up that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very much like, once you start utilizing this tool of possibility portals, I highly recommend seeing if you can book a conversation with them. See if you can get some type of contact with them. Because one of the things that I've realized over the many years of me doing this is it kind of actually knocks the pedestal down. So if there is any pedestal possible, you go, oh my goodness, they're an actual human too. They make mistakes like anyone else. And yet they're still moving forward with this great momentum and energy, right? And so, and that's just a really beautiful thing, because once you go, oh, they're a human and they did these things because of these are the resources. Well, how do I obtain those type of resources? What education do I need to have? What investments do I need to make? How do I need to set up my website, for example? Like, it could be a lot of different things to go. They can still be a possibility portal, knowing that they're human as well, right? And so I love that that Izzy mentioned a moment ago. Like, this isn't about a pedestal, but we like naturally sometimes do that. Like, I have told, I don't know how many students, like, do not put me on a pedestal. Like, I'm not available for that. There are so many people out there that are that's in the Reiki world, you know, they put their teacher's picture on their altar. And I'm like, absolutely no. If we're friends, you want to put a picture of us like hugging on your altar, and like, that's fine. But I'm not available to be put on a pedestal, because I'm human, and I would love to be a possibility portal, an inspiration for people to go, yes, you can do this as a career. Like, and that I constantly am stepping into that space of trying to inspire others to remember that Reiki doesn't just have to be a hobby. Reiki can be a career, and you can have success in it, and you can do it. And you don't have to worry about not having enough. You can release so many of those money limiting beliefs, because it's possible. It's totally possible to have a Reiki business and make 5K months or 10K months. And it's how do you want to do that? How do you want to show up in the world? And so it's this beautiful space of, I can be authentically exactly who I am, see this possibility portal as like, okay, these are the resources that they had. These are the steps that they took, and go, is that in alignment for me? Do I want to take similar steps?
Yeah. And I love what you said about needing there to be almost like a humanness in that, because when we put our possibility portal up on a pedestal, our mind has found another way to make what we want impossible.
Yes.
Because it's no longer saying, look, there's this human who's just like me who did the thing. It's saying, look, there's this perfect person who somehow has it all figured out, and you're never going to be there. And so suddenly your possibility portal hasn't become an inspiration. They've become this unattainable reality that you're never going to get to. And it's another way that your mind tells you you're wrong, right? But if we can see our possibility portals as human beings, and whether that's, connecting with them one-on-one, like if Christine or I happen to be your possibility portal. Send us a message. We want to talk to you. But it's this idea of seeing them in real time, seeing them not only for who they are when they're in that energy, when they're in that truth, but also seeing them when they're not. Because we are all human. We're not always going to be aligned or perfectly in sync or in flow, right? That's not what we're here for. It's the ups and downs that allow this experience to be what it is. And so when we can look at our possibility portal and we can remind ourselves that these people are humans, just like us, they don't have any kind of advantage. They don't have any extra spiritual wisdom that you don't have access to or anything like this. They're just like you, and they're finding their own way. It creates a more realistic ability to see these people as potentials, as opportunities for you, because it's not someone who, like, I think in my head a lot, I think of like royalty. It's not like royalty where you're looking at them and you're like, I will never be there, because they're just people. And, people talk about this all the time about, there's a saying of never meet your spiritual guru or teacher or whatever it is, because it can be in a way disappointing because you realize that they're just people. But I think that's the point, is like Christine and I would say, please do meet your spiritual teacher, because then you're taking them off the pedestal and you're realizing that if they can do it, I can do it too.